Welcome back to Chaos Theory, the show where we unravel the mysteries of life, the universe, and why your plants always die when you're on vacation. I'm your host Rahul, and today we're diving into a topic that is as fascinating as it is catastrophic: the mass extinctions. Sorry for that deep sound. Anyways, continuing. Imagine pressing the reset button on life, not just for your failed sourdough starter, but for nearly every living thing on planet Earth. Think of it like Thanos snapping his fingers in Avengers Infinity War, but on a planetary scale. Throughout its 4.5 billion year history, our planet has hit the reboot button at least 5 times, each one wiping out a significant chunk of life and paving the way for new species to take over. It's, it's a little like nature's version of decluttering, except instead of cleaning your closet, Earth cleared out entire ecosystems. Today we'll explore these dramatic turning points. What caused them, what survived, and what they mean for us. Spoiler alert, we might be in the middle of sixth mass extinction. And I don't mean to scare you, but it is what it is. And unlike the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, this one's all on us. Stick around the details and maybe a bit of hope. So, what are the mass extinctions exactly? Before we dive into the specifics of these epic Earth resets, let's address a big question. Why do we care about mass extinctions today? Or for starters, not just ancient history, but every time these mass extinctions happen, what does it signify? Each of these events reshaped life as we know it, creating the conditions that led to, well, us. Understanding these upheavals isn't just about looking backward, it's about learning how life survives, adapts, and sometimes thrives after catastrophe. It's a lesson that's more relevant than ever. Let's get one thing straight. Not every extinction is a mass extinction. Species come and go all the time. But a mass extinction, that's the ultimate mic drop. It happens when at least 75% of Earth's species vanish in a blink of geological time. You're talking tens of thousands of years. Not for you, but it is practically yesterday in Earth's timeline. Mass extinctions are like the ultimate party crashers. Imagine your favorite TV show suddenly wiped out 75% of its characters. It'd be shocking, but also an opportunity for new plot twists and unexpected alliances. They disrupt ecosystems after evolution and leave behind a biological blank slate. But there are also opportunities, times when life bounces back in unexpected ways. Think of them as nature's harsh but effective editors, trimming the story to make room for new characters. Kind of like how Game of Thrones made room for more chaos after every major death. So the first up, the Ordovician Silurian extinction. 445 million years ago. At this point, life was a full-blown ocean party. The seas were teeming with trilobites, brachiopods, and the first coral reefs, forming complex ecosystems beneath the waves. No land animals had yet evolved, so the oceans were the center of life. Then, bam, a sudden glaciation sent Earth into a deep freeze, marking one of the most dramatic climate change in history. Sea levels plummeted drastically, draining shallow marine habitats and leaving countless species without their essential environments. This wasn't just a normal temporary chill, it triggered cascading ecological crises. When the glaciers eventually melted, massive floods disrupted what was left of marine habitats, causing further upheaval. In the end, approximately 85% of marine species were wiped out. Talk about overkill. But here's the fascinating part: the survivors weren't just lucky, they were remarkably adaptable. Species like certain types of brachiopods and cephalopods managed to ensure by thriving in deeper, more stable waters where the environmental changes were less severe. The extinction event also marked a significant evolutionary turning point. With fewer competitors, new ecological niches opened up. paving the way for diversification and the eventual rise of the first land plants, which would go on to revolutionize Earth's ecosystems forever. Nature's way of shaking things up, indeed. Next, the late Devonian extinction, about 375 million years ago. This wasn't a single knockout punch, it was more like a series of jabs over 20 million years, a slow but relentless dismantling of ecosystems. Life was thriving. Fish with jaws, the OG ancestors of sharks, dominated the seas, showcasing an evolutionary leap that allowed them to become top predators. On land, the first forests, composed mainly of primitive vascular plants, were sprouting and transforming the landscape by stabilizing soil and beginning the carbon sequestration process that would shape the future climates. These early forests also laid the groundwork for terrestrial ecosystems, creating new habitats for emerging terrestrial life. Then came the chaos: climate cooling, volcanic eruptions, and the ocean oxygen level tanking. As temperatures dropped, many marine species, which were adapted to warmer, oxygen rich waters, couldn't cope. Coral reefs collapsed, and vast stretches of ocean became dead zones, areas with little to no oxygen, where life simply couldn't survive. Meanwhile, the forests on land struggled to expand as the cooler climate disrupted their growth cycles. It's like Earth decided to throw a tantrum. About 75% of species didn't make it. But this extinction taught us a lesson. Everything on Earth is interconnected. Mess with one system, and the whole house of cards can fall. The changes didn't just wipe out life, they paved the way for ecosystems to evolve. Surviving species adapted to harsher conditions, setting the stage for the rise of more resilient plants and animals in the aftermath. Now, let's talk about the headliner, the Permian Triassic extinction, or the Great Dying. This one's the goat of all mass extinctions, the most severe extinction event in Earth's history. Around 252 million years ago, 96% of marine species and 70% of land species bit the dust, marking a colossal loss of biodiversity that altered the trajectory of life forever. It's like Earth decided to cancel its own subscription and start anew, wiping the slate almost entirely clean. This extinction wasn't a simple, sudden event. It was a prolonged catastrophe spanning thousands of years. The prime suspect? Massive volcanic eruptions in now what is Siberia, known as Siberian traps. These eruptions released unfathomable amounts of carbon dioxide and methane, creating a runaway greenhouse effect. Oceans turned acidic, their oxygen levels plummeted, the temperature soared to deadly levels, transforming the planet into a hostile environment. The devastation extended to land, where global warming caused droughts and habitat collapse, wiping out vast ecosystems dominated by synapsids, the ancestors of mammals. Yet, amid this chaos, life found a way to persist. Burrowing animals, shielded from the worst of the heat and environmental collapse, had a better chance of survival. Hardy plants and marine species, such as algae and ammonites, managed to adapt to the changing environment, showing incredible resilience. These survivors didn't just endure, they became the foundation for future evolutionary explosions. Without this catastrophic reset, the stage wouldn't have been set for the rise of dinosaurs and eventually mammals like us. Life's resilience never ceased to amaze, does it? Fast forward to 201 million years ago, when we hit the Triassic Jurassic extinction. This one cleared out about 80% of species, including many large reptiles that had been dominant in ecosystems for millions of years. The likely culprit? If you have ever learned about history, you know it always repeats. The volcanic activity associated with Central Atlantic Magnetic Province, which released vast amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. This caused severe global warming, ocean acidification, and widespread habitat loss. The impact was catastrophic. Marine ecosystems were disrupted as the oceans became less hospitable due to reduced oxygen levels, while terrestrial environments faced erratic climates and frequent wildfires. Think of it like the events of Jurassic Park, but without the Hollywood ending. This extinction event cleared the way for new stars. This extinction event, however, created an opening for the rise of dinosaurs, which would go on to dominate the Mesozoic era. Without this dramatic reset, the Jurassic period and its iconic species like the T Rex, Stegosaurus, or Velociraptors might have never unfolded. Finally, the main event, the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction. 66 million years ago, Earth during the late Cretaceous was a vibrant, bustling place. Dinosaurs ruled the land, from the towering T Rex to the gentle, plant munching Triceratops. The skies were filled with pterosaurs, and the seas teemed with creatures like mosasaurs and ammonites. It was a golden age of biodiversity. Then disaster struck. The Chicxulub asteroid, an enormous celestial object the size of Mount Everest, came hurtling toward Earth, slamming into what now is Yucatan Peninsula in the modern-day Mexico. The impact created the Chicxulub crater, a massive depression over 180 kilometers wide. The collision unleashed energy equivalent to billion nuclear bombs, sending shockwaves across the planet. Fires ignited, tsunamis swept across continents, and a dense cloud of debris was hurled into atmosphere, blocking out the sun and plunging Earth into global winter. Temperatures plummeted, photosynthesis ground to a halt, and ecosystems collapsed like a house of cards. In its wake, 75% of species went extinct, including nearly all the dinosaurs, except for their feathery descendants, the birds. But not all was lost. Mammals, including our distant ancestors, found ways to adapt and thrive. They burrowed underground to escape the worst of the heat and cold. And then the dust settled. They emerged to find a world ripe for new beginnings. Without this cataclysmic event, the age of mammals, and eventually humans, might never have come. Funny how a planet shaking disaster could also set the stage for a new chapter of life, isn't it? Now, here's the kicker. Many scientists believe we are living through the sixth mass extinction. The difference? This time, we are the asteroids. Habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change are driving species to extinction at a rate unseen since the dinosaurs' demise. Unlike previous extinctions, this event wasn't triggered by natural phenomena like volcanic eruptions or asteroid impact. This one is human driven. Industrial activities have disputed ecosystems, deforested vast areas, and released unprecedented levels of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Oceans are warming up, coral reefs are bleaching, and countless species are losing their habitats faster than they can adapt. It's a sobering reality, but understanding the scale and causes of this crisis is a first step towards finding solutions. But here's the good news. We have the power to change the narrative. Take the recovery of humpback whale populations, for instance. Once pushed to the brink of whaling, the numbers have rebounded dramatically thanks to international protection efforts and habitat conservation. Conservation efforts, sustainable practices, and innovation can help us turn the tide for countless other species as well. The question is, will we? Are we willing to give what it takes? Mass extinctions are a story of devastation and renewal, loss and resilience. They remind us that life finds a way and so can we. Thanks for joining me on this journey through Earth's history. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your favorite science nerd. I'm Rahul, and this has been the Chaos Theory. Until next time, stay curious and hopeful.